What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So ASUS and Microsoft have been pretty busy getting some updates ready for the Xbox Ally X and the other three Ally devices as well when it comes to some Windows updates and some Armoury Crate updates, BIOS, MCU, GPU drivers. Quite a bit that they've been able to pump out here, and my focus is, of course, on the new Xbox Ally X device here, but we'll take a look at the channel log to see what more of the updates are all about, and then we'll get into how that process kind of went here and how to get everything updated. So this is for November 2025, all the updates rolling between like November 17th and then 19th. And again, this has a lot to do with your MCU, your BIOS, GPU, AMD chipset drivers, and all that kind of stuff, power delivery firmware, and a couple of more things. Now, the first thing is Armoury Crate SE is going to get 2.1.15, and I just was able to finally get that today at finishing up this video, and has a lot of things when it comes to being able to adjust your P cores, E cores, things like that, going in between the full screen experience. The Xbox Ally device, the non-X version, has some specific numbers and updates for it exclusively, and then the ROG Xbox Ally X has some exclusive numbers and updates and things that go for it with its MCU, BIOS, touch panel firmware, power delivery firmware, the GPU driver, and the chipset drivers, which we finally all got on here over the past 2 or 3 days with these things rolling out. Now, I did like to do all of my updates in desktop mode. You don't necessarily have to, but I've had a few buggy things in full screen experience with some of the updates, so I've just kind of opted to do that in desktop mode, at least for now. As far as my ASUS, there will be updates that show up here sometimes, but you won't need this for this round. Everything is Windows updates and Armoury Crate SE, but from time to time there will be stuff that pops up over here. So as far as Armoury Crate SE goes, again, this happened over the course of a couple of days. So when I jump into here, it's about a day before they actually put out the Armoury Crate update, but we got some of the other updates with the BIOS, the GPU driver, and that type of thing, which you can see in here with some of that stuff being new. The BIOS version 3.12, the MCU firmware 3.21, and we also had the new GPU driver that was in there as well. So yeah, we were able to kind of get these as they rolled out over a couple of days and get these updated here in Armoury Crate. So if you're in the update center, make sure that you scan at the top for your updates and keep an eye on any new updates rolling out here. But for the ones that are out now, they should now all be showing up, at least they are for me. I had, of course, the Windows updates that popped up with the two that are coming from them, with the power delivery firmware update and the touch panel firmware update as well. So those popped up in Windows Update for me there. And then finally on the 19th of November, we got the update for Armoury Crate. So we get the P core, E core stuff, the swapping between full screen and whatever optimizations they have besides that in here. So able to finally go ahead and update that. So there's quite a little bit over the past few days, but if you're just now getting into the updates, this should all kind of happen at one time. But once that's all updated, we'll be on the newest version of Armoury Crate here. And I didn't get into a whole lot of differences as far as like what's changed in here. It seemed like general settings and most stuff was the same. We got the new action button that can swap between the full screen experience easier, which is going to help on devices that don't have like the Xbox button or other ways to do that. But it'll help here as well for certain things. And of course the update center, where we now show the newer version, the 2.1.15 on Armoury Crate SE versus what we had earlier on in the video, and the rest of the updates, the new chipset driver here for the 19th, and so on there. So finally everything from everywhere updated with this rollout from ASUS. Now in performance, we have a couple of things here different. They did mention in manual mode you can now get into the power mode, which is right down here to toggle between balance, power efficiency, best performance, and all of that. So that's been added into the manual mode. If we go over here to the side, there's not much that's changed in system stats, Eco Assist, or anything like that. GPU settings are largely all the same, still defaulting 8 gigabytes here, and everything else turned off. Go into more settings though. The power mode synchronization used to be all we had. Now we have CPU core, P cores, and E cores that you can now turn off or turn on here and choose how many of those you want going. So this 8 core 16 thread APU, you get a little bit more control here, what you want to get out of the chip. So that might be a future video where we test that more and get into some of the differences. I didn't get into that right now, but I know a lot of people like having that kind of control here, and it's really nice to see ASUS and them working this closely and getting some really nice updates out. Now, I didn't get a chance to take a look at a lot of games, but I did take a look at Cyberpunk real quick to see if there's any major differences there. And largely for the most part, I didn't really run into anything. At 17 watts, there was a few things where maybe the GPU clock was slightly lower here or there. Performance was ever so slightly lower, but it was by a very, very small amount at 17 or 20 watts really, but I'm more focused on 17 here with launch drivers and all the updated stuff here versus each other, and only a small difference of, you know, point something, 0.1 in FPS. So largely the same there. At 25 watts though, and I did have to swap sides on updated drivers here and launch drivers, but on the 25 watt side, there is a little bit more of a difference that I did notice, where the updated stuff was running a bit better at the higher TDP versus the lower TDP of running pretty much the same, which was pretty good to see here. So they've tweaked something to get a little bit more, at least out of this game anyway, when it comes to the higher range TDP over 20 watts. So we get a couple of FPS more here. Again, not a lot, kind of negligible, but you could see the difference there in the benchmark and in that. So definitely something with the higher TDP versus the lower when it comes to this update, which is fine. Nothing lost on the lower end really, and a little bit of gains on the higher end. But anyways, I just want to go over the update process a little bit and what was in there. I'm sure that's not everything, and I would like to jump in and test a little bit more when it comes to the E-Core and P-Core, turning stuff on and off there, but I just kind of wanted to go over that pretty quickly, and then add Cyberpunk footage, so I wanted to take a look at that, and that's where I found lower TDP, not much of any difference, but higher seemed to be getting a little bit better. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.